And what better subject matter for our first episode than the game that was the first appearance of Mario? I'm talking about Donkey Kong.
Mega Man 2.
Super Mario Brothers?
The Legend of Zelda. A Metroid. Garrett.
John Connor.
The New York
Hylian
Mini-Springfield.
Inspector Gadget. Twin Peaks.
Comics #1.
Rick and Morty.
Little
Marvel
Mermaid.
Civil War.
Bob's Burgers.
Hamilton.
Empire
The
State
Building.
Building.
Some mini pigs.
It's the 100th episode. Here we are, guys, episode 100 of the Pixel Art Show. Thanks for dressing up. You know, milestones like this always make me want to reflect back on the journey so far. I've been doing this show for 3 years now, but I've been making Perler art for a full decade. And the piece that really first put me on the map was my 40 square foot mural of Springfield from The Simpsons.
Project Springfield.
Released in 2011, Springfield was to be my ultimate tribute to my favorite show. But as you know all too well, my friends, I couldn't stop there, and have continued to create all kinds of character portraits, iconography, locations. What can I say? I've always loved the aesthetic of The Simpsons. The characters and the locations are so unique and eye-catching. The architecture in Springfield features so many distinct designs, it just never gets old to me. The buildings are so quirky and colorful, it's like walking through a theme park, which you can actually do at Universal Studios since they opened this whole section of the park dedicated to replicating some of Springfield's most recognizable landmarks. I really gotta visit that place someday. Anyway, I know the whole running joke of The Simpsons is that Springfield is a really crappy town that anyone with any sense would avoid.
I thought Springfield was America's scrod basket.
No, Springfield is America's crud bucket. At least according to Newsweek.
Springfield is the least popular city in America.
I actually had some doubts about moving to Springfield, especially after that Time cover story, America's Worst City.
You could see our house in that photo.
Oh.
But I can't help but have such affection for it. I can browse any of these locations and recall so many fond memories, like the KBBL radio station, where Bart won his elephant, the Android's dungeon, where he, Milhouse, and Martin pooled their money together to buy a copy of Radioactive Man #1, the Lard Lad statue that came alive to terrorize the town, Herman's Military Antiques, where Wiggum and Snake were held captive, the Aztec Theater that premiered the Itchy and Scratchy movie where the line stretched all the way past the Krusty Burger, where Principal Skinner tried to pass off fast food as steamed hams, the dilapidated monorail that was only used one time, King Toot's music store where Lisa's saxophone came from, right next door to Moe's Tavern. Remember when it was briefly Flaming Moe's? And then Uncle Moe's Family Feedback? And then Moe's Pet Shop when Homer was the beer baron and would secretly send bowling balls of booze from the Bolorama? Where it started the Pin Pals and briefly worked before Maggie was born? The Quickie Mart where Marge was arrested for accidentally shoplifting, Lisa was shown Apu's secret rooftop garden, Bart would start a bad trip with an all-syrup squishy, and Homer briefly worked here too so he could afford Lisa's pony. The retirement castle, the church, the town square, the Flying Dutchman, that ice cream shop that Maggie was drawn to, and who could forget that action-packed trip to the box factory? So, what better subject matter for our 100th episode than the town that shaped my sense of humor? I'm talking about making a mini-Springfield. I've taken most of the locations from my original mural and shrunk the designs down to a more manageable size, just for you guys. Let's make one building at a time, and then we'll put them all together.
This town is a part of us all. A part of us all. A part of us all. Sorry to repeat myself, but it'll help you remember.
Remember when I said I'd have to send away to NASA to calculate your bar tab?
Oh, yeah. We all had a good laugh, Mo.
The results came back today.
devilish, Seymour.
This town is a part of us all. A part of us all. A part of us all.
Wow, that does work.
Alrighty, our Mini-Springfield is going to be put on 3 18 by 24 inch canvases, just like this. Having it on separate pieces gives us more display options, and also makes it a heck of a lot easier to move or transport. Each piece will have several layers of black foam core stacked up just like a staircase in order to give the skyline a cool 3D effect. One of my favorite things about Springfield in the show is that there's no set layout. Locations will often change, usually just in service to a joke.
Lousy traffic jam.
Hi, Dad.
But that means Springfield is like a living thing, perpetually updating itself. That's one of the reasons we've made each landmark individually, so you can choose your own layout that looks best to you. Feel free to switch things up from what you see me do. Now to glue my layers of black foam core together. Very nice. Then we glue them onto the canvas. Notice how I painted the sides to blend in better with the roads here. Okay, finally time to start mounting our buildings. I'll put some more black foam core on the top row to sturdy those pieces, then I'll work my way down. On to canvas number 2. Excellent. Just one left to go. And I'm obviously taking some big liberties in my layout here, what with the Quickie Mart being right next door to the Simpsons house, but I tried to keep each canvas somewhat consistent when it came to the kinds of locations that are near each other. I mean, I figured the Quickie Mart is at least nearby the Simpson home, that's why they're always stopping in there so often instead of just always going to the actual grocery store. So I'm treating it like it's the neighborhood's convenience shop. Combined with places like the church and the retirement castle, this canvas has a more residential feel to it, as opposed to the town square or Uptown Springfield. Now that we've mounted all of our building, it's time to add the characters. Lots and lots of characters. Let's start with the Uptown Springfield piece. I'll add a couple more steps of black foam core here for the citizens to be staggered and overlapping each other a bit. Once I get the layout to my liking, I'll carefully remove the front characters so I can get to gluing down the back row. Again, I tried to have some internal logic when it came to character placement. We've got McBain and Troy McClure in front of the movie theater, power plant employees by the cooling towers, and the school faculty in front of Springfield Elementary. On the town square, Moe and Barney in front of Moe's, of course. I like Radioactive Man close to the comic shop. Sideshow Bob in the shadow of Krusty Burger. With the comic book guy out front of his store. Maybe the Frogurt guy is trying to sell him a cursed Krusty doll. I don't know. Herman's outside his military antique store. You see what I'm going for here. And I'm planning on this being the middle piece, so I'm gonna have the Simpson family front and center. Okay, this is it. Last piece, guys. Captain McAllister looking at Kodos like he's some kind of sea monster. Apu in front of the Quickie Mart. Dr. Hibbert in front of the hospital. We already used the Simpson, so let's have the Flanderses in front of 742 Evergreen Terrace. Sort of representing the neighborhood. The Lovejoys in front of the church, of course. Let's have them awkwardly talking to number 1, who led the Stonecutters. Different kind of flock. See how Arthur Crandall's suit is mostly black? Doesn't really stand out much, so I don't feel too bad blocking most of him with Lionel Hutz's bright blue suit here. And Sherry Bobbin's outfit is mostly black too, so it can be tough to see her, but that's why we put her in front of somebody wearing mostly white, like Reverend Lovejoy's white robe. Grandpa and Jasper staying close to the retirement castle, ready to give out a paddlin'. I'll have Nelson and Martin next to each other because I just love their dynamic together. They always crack me up.
You know, Millhouse, I've been thinking. This town ain't so bad. When you get right down to it, Springfield's a pretty cool place to live.
And there it is, Mini-Springfield. Wider than my whole Perler wall back here.
Springfield, Springfield, it's a hell of a town. The schoolyard's up and the shopping mall's down. The stray dogs go to the animal pound. Springfield, 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 Springfield.
You know, I use the term Mini-Springfield in comparison to my original, but this bad boy is still a whopping 6 feet long and features 80 characters and 28 locations. That's over 100 individual Perler pieces designed, beaded, ironed, and assembled. And that's a wrap on our first 100 episodes. Guys, thanks so much for tuning in, not just this time, but every time. If I don't tell you often enough, it's your awesome encouragement and support is really what keeps me inspired to keep creating more and more projects. Here's to 100 more. And if you'd like to take a crack at making your own Springfield, or use my designs as a starting point and add your own twist, you can always find them at the DIY link in the description. Absolutely free thanks to my phenomenal investors on Patreon. Stay tuned, my friends. There's more fun surprises on the way.